Okay, so you're here because you need to get up to speed, like fast.
Mm.
Cut through the noise, understand what's actually important right now.
Yeah, efficiently. That's the goal.
Exactly. So today, we're tackling two things that seem kind of different on the surface.
Right. We've got a deep dive into a data storage company, Stonefly.
And then we're switching gears to, well, a pretty critical security vulnerability that's just come to light, Ivanti.
Yeah, and we think looking at both together, tells a bigger story about tech today.
Totally. So the mission for Stonefly is figuring out what makes them stand out. It's a crowded market, data storage and security.
Definitely. We'll look at their tech, their recognition, what they're offering.
And then for the Ivanti thing, the mission there is understanding the threat. What is it? What's the impact? How are people responding?
It's a live situation, really. Lots of lessons there for anyone worried about online security, which is, well, everyone.
Okay, let's unpack Stonefly first then. Our sources paint them as pioneers in a few key areas.
A SAN, NAS, S3 object storage, sort of the whole range of storage types.
Plus backup, disaster recovery, cloud stuff, and even AI and security tech woven in. It's quite a list.
It is a broad spectrum, and, what jumps out is their talk about advanced data services.
Right. What does that actually mean in practice?
Well, looking at the details, it seems to be about building really resilient, really secure systems. It's not just holding data.
It's making sure it's safe and available, yeah, against, well, everything.
Exactly. Things like immutable snapshots.
Okay, immutability. We hear that a lot now, especially with ransomware. That's the whole point, right? Attackers can't mess with the backup.
Precisely. If they encrypt your live data, you can roll back to a clean copy that couldn't be changed. It's kind of acknowledging that, prevention isn't always 100%.
Counts in depth.
And they also mention AES-256 encryption, at rest, in transit.
Which is kind of table stakes now, but still absolutely necessary.
Definitely non-negotiable, yeah. Then there's replication synchronous and asynchronous.
Ah, right. So sync for like almost zero data loss if a primary system fails right now.
Exactly, mirroring in near real time. Critical apps, usually.
And async is more for the big disaster, sending data offsite.
That longer distance safety net gives you that recovery point if the whole site goes down.
Okay, so different tools for different risks. Makes sense. They also talk about intelligent tiering.
Yeah.
And smart flash cache.
Yeah, that sounds like automation helping manage cost versus performance.
So the system figures out what data needs to be on the fast, expensive storage.
And what can sit on slower, cheaper tiers because you don't touch it often, it learns.
Trying to find that sweet spot, speed versus cost.
Right. And then they specifically call out ransomware volume protection.
Another sign they're focused on today's big threats.
Definitely. And this leads into their patented immutable and air-gapped repository. That sounds like a core piece.
Air-gapped. So physically or logically isolated from the network, right?
Usually, yeah. Not constantly connected.
Combine that with immutability. That seems like a really strong defense against ransomware hitting your backups.
It's a powerful combo. The patent suggests they've got a specific, maybe unique way of doing it.
Okay. They also throw out some other terms. Control a node, compass mirroring.
And a unified interface to manage like up to 128 nodes, different locations.
That unified management piece sounds huge for bigger places. Managing storage everywhere from one screen.
Oh, absolutely. Reduces complexity, reduces errors. Big selling point for distributed environments.
So, okay, the tech sounds pretty advanced, but, everyone says their tech is great. Any outside validation?
Well, there's that patent we mentioned for the immutable and air-gap stuff. That's a strong signal of innovation.
Yeah, patents mean it's genuinely new, not just repackaged.
And then there's a DCIG award. This seems pretty significant.
Oh, yeah. What did they get recognized for?
They were ranked top 5, not just in one category, but in SAN, NAS, and object storage. All 3.
Wow, okay. That's quite a sweep, hitting the mark across the board like that.
It suggests versatility, right? Not just a niche player. And DCIG is pretty respected for independent analysis. Adds credibility.
Definitely gives you more confidence than just marketing materials.
For sure.
Now, shifting gears slightly, it looks like Stonefly's, well, growing. Our sources mention over 100 job openings.
Yeah, lots of technical roles, software engineers, support, full stack devs, but also digital media, customer service.
That kind of hiring usually means one thing, right? Momentum.
Yeah.
Investment.
Absolutely. Suggests demand is up, they're scaling to meet it, maybe funding new R&D. Good signs for the company's health.
So for people listening who might be thinking about storage or backup, Stonefly seems to have some promos running too.
Yeah, a couple caught my eye. One was $10 immutable and air-gapped backup.
$10. That sounds like a loss leader almost, just to get people trying their core security tech.
Could be. Very accessible way to test out immutable air-gapped backups without a big commitment.
Then there's a much bigger offer. A 70 terabyte appliance for backup and DR.
Right, expandable up to 4 petabytes, apparently, with all the features air-gapped, immutable.
And it plays nice with the big backup software vendors. Veeam, Rubrik, Commvault.
Yeah, compatibility is listed. Plus, it mentions AI for ransomware protection, something called object lockdown.
Okay, and the price listed for this 70 TB appliance?
$700, which seems incredibly low.
$700.
Yeah.
For 70 terabytes with those features. Okay, there's got to be a catch. Or maybe it's a subscription component.
Probably need to contact their sales team at stonefly.com for the specifics. But yeah, that headline price is designed to grab attention.
Definitely grabs attention. Could be a really strong value prop if the details hold up.
Worth investigating if you're in the market for that kind of scale and protection.
So to wrap up on stonefly.website is stonefly.com. Sales questions, go to sales@stonefly.om. Jobs at stonefly.com.
Seems like a company really leaning into data protection resilience.
Which is a perfect segue, actually, into our second topic.
Yeah, let's pivot, because this next one shows exactly why that kind of protection is so critical. We're talking about a serious vulnerability.
Right. This is CVE-2025-22457. It affects Ivanti products, specifically Connect Secure, Policy Secure, and their ZTA gateways.
These are network security appliances, VPN gateways, policy enforcers, things sitting right at the edge of the network, crucial infrastructure.
And the affected versions are important here. Yeah. People need to check them.
Definitely. For Connect Secure, it's versions before 22.7R 2.6, Policy Secure before 22.7R 1.4, and ZTA gateways before 22.8R 2.2.
Got it. And this wasn't found yesterday, right? Discovered back in February.
Yeah, February 2025 discovery, but public disclosure was April 3rd, so fairly recent news for most people.
Okay, so what is this vulnerability? What's the nitty-gritty?
It's described as a stack-based buffer overflow.
Okay, buffer overflow, meaning you can send too much data to a specific spot in memory and overwrite things.
Essentially, yes. It happens when the device is processing the X-forwarded for HTTP header.
The header that tells a server where the original request came from, like through a proxy.
Exactly, but here's the weird part. The overflow can only be triggered using digits 0 to 9 in periods. Only those characters.
Just numbers and dots. That's odd.
Very specific. And apparently, Ivanti initially thought that limitation meant it couldn't be used for, like, remote code execution, RCE.
Ah, they thought it was less severe because the character set was so limited.
That seems to be the case, but that assessment turned out to be wrong.
So researchers figured out how to get code execution anyway, even with just numbers and dots.
Yep. Which is, a bit concerning, shows you can't underestimate attacker ingenuity.
And it really highlights the need for super thorough testing, doesn't it? Even weird limitations might not be roadblocks.
For sure. So the severity score reflects this now. It's a CVSS 9.0. Critical.
9.0. Okay. And the vector string tells more of the story, right? CVSS.3.1AV.NAC.HPR.NUI.NSCCHI.HA.
Let's break that down. AVN network attack vector. Remotely exploitable.
ACH attack complexity is high. So it's not trivial to exploit, maybe because of that number dot thing.
Probably. But then PRN privileges required? None. And UIN user interaction? None. That's bad.
Yeah, attacker doesn't need an account, doesn't need to trick anyone into clicking anything.
Exactly. SC scope changed. Means exploiting the Ivanti box could let the attacker pivot and hit other stuff on the internal network.
Oh, right, because it's often a gateway to the internal network.
Precisely. And CHIH high impact on confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Basically, full compromise is possible.
So steal data, change things, take the device offline, potentially get full control.
That's the risk. And because these are often VPN gateways,
a compromise could be like opening the front door for attackers straight into the company network.
That's the major concern here. Malware deployment, backdoors, lateral movement.
Yeah.
It's a foothold.
Okay. Scary stuff. So what's the fix? Are there patches?
Yes, patches are rolling out. Connect Secure version 22.7R 2.6 fixed it back in February.
Oh, so that one's been available for a bit.
Right. Policy Secure gets its patch, version 22.7R 1.4, around April 21st. And ZTA Gateways, version 22.8R 2.2, around April 19th.
So very soon for those last two.
Yeah.
The advice is obviously patch ASAP.
Absolutely. Identify if you're running affected versions and upgrade immediately when the patch is available for your product. That's priority one.
What if you, I don't know, can't patch right away for some reason? Any mitigation steps?
Well, CISA, that's the U.S. Cybersecurity Agency, has some advice. They say monitor the External Integrity Checker tool, the ICT.
Looking for what? Signs of trouble.
Yeah, specifically for web server crashes, that could indicate someone's trying to exploit this.
And if you think you have been hit,
CISA's advice is a factory reset, but importantly, these are stopgaps.
right, not fixes, just maybe reducing risk while you wait to patch.
Exactly. Patching is the only real solution here.
It sounds like this whole situation, especially the initial misjudgment of exploitability, caused a bit of a stir in the security world.
Oh, yeah. There's been a lot of discussion, questioning how vulnerabilities get assessed initially.
Like, should vendors be more cautious before declaring something low risk, even with limitations?
That's part of the conversation, and it just reinforces how sophisticated attackers are, especially when targeting critical edge devices like VPNs. They find ways.
So for listeners wanting to track this or get more technical details,
Good resources are the NVD entry for the CVE, the official CISA alert.
and security firms probably have write-ups.
Definitely. Watchtower Labs, Rapid7, Arctic Wolf, they've all published analysis. Lots of detail there if you want to go deep.
Okay, good pointers. They're always good to follow those sources.
Essential for staying on top of this stuff.
So wrapping this up, we looked at two kind of different angles today. Stonefly, building these advanced data protection solutions.
Right. Focus on things like immutability, air gapping, recovery, proactive defense.
And then this Ivanti vulnerability, a real-world example of an emerging threat demanding immediate reactive security, vigilance, patching.
Yeah. The two sides of the same coin, really. You need the strong defenses and the ability to respond quickly when things like this Ivanti flaw pop up.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? How do these two pieces fit together in your own context?
Are you investing enough in making your data resilient? Like with the stuff Stonefly offers?
Or are you focused right now on locking down your network edge, patching those VPNs, monitoring for threats like this Ivanti one?
Probably need to be doing both, right?
Yeah, you really do. Staying informed on the solutions and the risks. It's just, well, crucial to navigating tech today. It changes so fast.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, thanks for taking this deep dive with us today. Lots to think about.